Tom, it's time for a run here of unfortunate Dolphins news. Maybe you have positive news. I've been seeing tweets from Shefty, tweets from this guy, Tom Christ, who I follow. He's been pretty good on Twitter. But talk to us. So we'll go, let's go in order here. We'll go Waddle, Hill, Mostert, which are pretty much their three studs. Let's start with Jalen Waddle. And I watched the game. He went out with a back injury, and then they were saying in the game he got like a heating pad or something. Like, what can you tell us about Jalen Waddle?
Limited practices Wednesday and today, Thursday. This is actually pretty good news because when it comes to back injuries, you want to rule out the more sinister injuries like a fracture, a disc injury, anything nerve related. If he's practicing already this week, those are not present. So those are good. So whatever his injury is, it all comes down to how it affects his movement and pain control. So with back pain, in particularly acute back pain, meaning it like just recently happened, like in a football game, it's often associated with stiffness. The muscles will just kind of clench down to protect the area. And usually it's an overreaction of the muscles. Like they don't need to be spasming like that. So you just got to get things calmed down there, which really isn't terribly hard to do most of the time. It's more the chronic back pains that's really hard to treat, but these acute back pains really not that hard to treat generally. So as long as
what does that look like, Tom? Sorry, what does that look like? Like they go back to the locker. I mean, they said like heating pad. Like what from your experiences? Yeah. What are they doing for him in that situation?
So again, the muscles will spasm because they think they need to protect an area that is irritated. And the heating pad is going to help loosen up the muscle to regain some motion. If your back, the back muscles are gigantic. They go from like your ass up to your neck. So when they're really tight, it's hard to move your torso, your back, anything like that. Obviously, a wide receiver needs to be able to rotate to field the ball, to catch the ball. So if they're locked down, it's going to be very hard to rotate. So the heating pad is going to help loosen them up. It feels nice. So it's going to calm some of the pain sensation to allow the muscles to relax a little bit. I'm sure they're doing soft tissue work, stretching as well. And I'm sure that's what they've been doing with him all week since the injury. And the fact that he's practicing tells us that things are trending well. And this is the type of injury that once you kind of get loosened up, get going, it's not really going to affect your performance too much. The problem would be if he takes another bad hit that flares it up again. Definitely can happen, but it's not so likely to happen that someone as good as Jalen Waddle I would hold out of my lineup. If we go back a couple players, if this was someone on like a Christian Watson level, then you're weighing the pros and the cons there, and I'm leaning towards not playing him. But somebody as good as Waddle, I'm rolling the dice that this is not going to get re-aggravated during the game because of how high of an output he can give me.
All right. Thank you for clearing that up. Well said. And with Waddle this year, as good as he is, and I don't think people want to admit it, but he's been a pretty big disappointment. Just 10.5 points per game, just quote unquote. I mean, it's not killing you, but listen, you're still going to play him every week. His speed is unbelievable. He's on one of the best offenses in football. We'll hope the back injury is okay. Now, Tyreek Hill, his co-partner, his what, Tom? His friend?
Co-pilot.
The guy on his team, there's a word I'm looking for. I can't find right now. I will tweet it out. Well, yes, Tom, his teammate, damn it, but his whatever is Tyreek Hill, damn it, of the Dolphins. So I saw some tweets earlier this week that McDaniel or something said like he's going to be back eventually, but now I saw a tweet earlier or Tua said that. Okay, sure. And that now Tyreek is saying I'm playing this Sunday, but Tom, maybe try to clear things up. It's a hip injury, but tell us what you know.
I think they're just poking fun at us. I really do. I think that they knew that they were going to rile up the whole fantasy community, the NFL community for a day, just for fun. He should be totally fine. I mean, he played like the whole game the other night, so it wasn't like there is a clip of where he looks like he might be limping a little bit after a play, but he continued to play after that. So practice today should be totally fine. Again, these types of hip injuries usually are going to affect the change of direction guys, which he obviously is. But the fact that it's so minor makes me think that it's not going to be that big of a deal for Hill. But I would project this to affect him more than it would DK Metcalf, who we talked about before, just because Hill is constantly shifting, changing direction. But still, his top end speed will be there. He'll still be agile enough that he's going to be great. And wide receivers really don't actually see any dip in their fantasy production when they return from hip injury on average. So you're not even thinking about this. He's in your lineup. You're not changing that.
Yeah, I mean, we had to get him in the show to at least talk about this, but there's, again, no possible scenario where you sit Tyreek Hill. And Tom, if I could rewind about 2.5 months, sitting there in all my leagues, pick 5, pick 6, staring at the board, man, Bijan, Tyreek Hill, I didn't even think twice about it. I was like, I want Bijan. I want him in this Arthur Smith or even just in this Falcons offense. I was so worried this year, God forbid that, knock on wood, that Tua was going to go out with if he got hit again. But my Lord, do I look wrong? Tyreek Hill, 23.2 half-point PPR points a game. Absolutely insane campaign through a little more than a third of the season here. Number 1 wide receiver, 902 yards thus far with 7 touchdowns. There's only been 1 week of the 7 where Tyreek hasn't scored. On pace right now, Tyreek Hill is for 2,100, so 2,191 yards. Tom, you know the other record holder, Calvin Johnson. Yep, 1964. So he's on pace to beat it by not just a little bit, by what, 191, like almost 200 or a little bit over 200 yard, which is insane. Great opportunity here for me to sneak in Puka Nacua, by the way, who right now is on pace for 1,826, which is just 138 short of the record. Can you imagine if that happens? But Tyreek Hill is, if Puka does, I just love Puka, man. Okay. But dude, Tyreek Hill has been absolutely special, making me look like a fool to draft Bijan Robinson. But you're playing him this week. And then a couple players left, but let's stay in Miami, Tom. Raheem Mostert, ankle limited. He's also been averaging an insane amount of points, 19.4 points per game this year. What's up with Mostert?
Yeah, an ankle injury, another one that we really didn't hear about during the game. So this is an injury that it's pretty common to not hear about it during the game and then have it pop up on Wednesday when practice starts because – again, if these ankle injuries are so minor that it doesn't impact their ability to change directions from a stability standpoint, the adrenaline may kind of wash out the pain signals at the time. And then sometimes they wake up and like, oh man, my ankle's kind of swollen, it kind of hurts, etc. But he was able to log a limited practice today on Thursday. Not really a concern for him missing the game. Definitely a concern for re-injury. I mean, we know there's a 26% re-sprain rate, but again, that doesn't always mean it's a major one. These kind of injuries happen to football players, and they always will happen to football players. And we see about an 11% dip in 11% dip in fantasy production, like we mentioned with Eckler earlier. Again, Mostert's been so productive that that's not enough to scare me off, especially with Achane still out. Now I know Jeff Wilson's back, but we've seen this offense run both running backs productive in the same game, so you're still starting Mostert.
Yeah, whoever the guy is in the backfield, I want it. I mean, it's going to be Mostert according to you and me and really everybody. It looks like it's going to be Mostert. Jeff Wilson is back, like you said. Guy would be Salvin Ahmed, but if those two guys were to not play or if anything happened, but I do love Mostert. They play the Patriots this week, coming off a loss as well.